if I catch one of you guys saying that Christian music is worse than secular, hey, you'll see.
It's like, there's so much to say.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Diskourse featuring your boy DJ Tomiwa. This is the series where we discuss all things DJing and music, and today we're going to be talking about the interesting topic of Christian music. So I'm hoping that today's episode of Diskourse is not going to be too ranty, okay? I'm going to try and keep things balanced, okay? For those who know, I'm very passionate about Christian music, but what's actually led to me making this video is this notion that secular music is somehow better than Christian music. Even though this notion isn't necessarily always mentioned, it's definitely something that a lot of Christians think in the back of their mind, because when it comes to events or parties, usually we don't want to listen to Christian music. Oftentimes we support secular artists more than Christian artists. And I'm just here to give some thoughts on this notion. First off, I just want to make this clear, okay? I'm not saying that Christian music is necessarily better than secular music, though you can argue that. I'm just saying that secular music is not better than Christian music. It will make more sense as I go on. Firstly, just to quickly define, Christian music is music that is either made by a Christian artist who's branded himself as Christian, or it can be denoted by the lyrics of the song. But generally speaking, it's the lyrics and the artist that made the song Christian, not the beat or the genre. So naturally, discussion today will be more prevalent to certain genres where you've got like a secular version and a Christian version. So for example, hip hop, you've got Christian hip hop, you've got secular hip hop. But though it does apply to all types of Christian music. So to start off with, I'm going to give some of my thoughts why I think the notion that secular music is better than Christian music is very, very silly. And then I'll try to balance up the argument a bit by giving some reasons why people might think this, and dealing with the crux of those issues. So the first reason why this is such a silly idea, in my opinion, is because a lot of the world's most popular artists, the world's biggest artists, best artists, grew up in the church. This is very, very well known, very, very well documented. You've got your most talented, biggest artists, giant artists like Beyonce, Whitney Houston, Lauryn Hill. It's very well known that these guys honed their skills in the church. And this isn't a coincidence. The truth of the matter is, if you've got an environment where you can hone your musical ability, your understanding of music, your understanding of production, your live performance ability, you're increasing your range, you're doing your very best every single week, you're having to perform, then naturally you're going to be better than someone who doesn't have that upbringing. So naturally, of course, some of the best artists in the world are going to come from this. And of course, like the artists that I've mentioned and many, many other artists, some of them decide to make Christian music and some of them don't. Some of them become Christian artists and some of them don't. But from my perspective, it's very clear that the most talented artists tend to come from the church. And that also applies to musicians as well. A lot of the most talented producers, a lot of the most talented drummers, keyboardists, guitarists, etc., they hone their skills in church. Another reason why I think the whole divide is very, very silly is because Christian artists, oftentimes they start secular, which people don't really realize. A lot of time, particularly in rap, for example, Christian artists will say, I used to rap about killing people or women or drugs or whatever. And then they get born again and they start rapping about Christ. They don't lose their ability when they get born again. And if you think about it deeply, all Christians were once not born again. If you were better when you're secular, then we all were secular at one point. You know what I mean? Like, this is so silly. Another reason why this notion is silly, because Christian artists listen to secular artists like me and you. Like, why do people sometimes think that Christian artists only listen to Christian music? It would be hard to find a Christian artist that has never heard secular music. They all listen to secular music and they're influenced by it. Christian artists are fans of secular artists as much as we are. So they listen to it, and as a result, their music will be as good quality as it as well. That's just the truth. They're influenced by it in the same way any secular artist is. Secular artists and Christian artists are not that separate from each other. Like, they're very much integrated as much as they can be. Some of your favorite Christian songs will likely have secular producers or secular sound engineers or secular promoters. So that's why you end up with people like Lecrae getting beats from secular artists or collaborating with Ty Dolla $ign and all these guys, because they're from the same pack. That's just how it is. I'm just telling you how things really are. If you're a Christian artist and you're singing or you're rapping for God, you can get beats from a secular producer or you can get beats from a Christian producer. But at the end of the day, your audience won't be able to tell. They don't really care. And as an artist, you're thinking, I want what sounds good. So that's just how things will turn out sometimes. Another reason why this notion is silly, because when you get saved, Like, Christians don't just suddenly become tone deaf. Like, when you get saved, the Holy Spirit comes into you, you're born again. It's fantastic, right? You're given a heart of flesh rather than a heart of stone. Amazing. But you don't just lose all your source, fam. Like, this idea is just silly. You don't just lose all your creativity. You don't just lose what makes you special. In fact, if anything, the Holy Spirit will give you even more creativity. This is seen in the Bible as well, by the way. I was reading Exodus the other day and it was saying how God gave creativity to certain craftsmen to be able to make amazing structures that will please the Lord. So please stop all this notion of, oh, Christian artists, they just become bland and boring, or and obviously you hear the notion that Christian men are very, very dead and stuff like that. That stuff is all nonsense. Let's be real, it's all nonsense. On that note though, I do want to emphasize this because this is a point exclusively for Christians. There's a lot of things that we have in this world that God gives which we can use to glorify him or not glorify him. You know what I mean? Money or sex or food, whatever it is, right? You have your choice in how you use it, and it is ultimately meant to be used to glorify him, but in some situations people won't use it to glorify him directly. If you think that God created music for any other purpose but to give him glory, then I think you've missed the point and you actually don't really understand what music is actually designed for. As a result of this, in my opinion, coming from a Christian perspective, the absolute best form of music will be the form of music that reverences Christ, the kind of music that glorifies of him, testifies of him, upholds him, at the very least mentions him in certain matters. Yes, you've got Philippians 4:8 as a good reference tool, but I'm just speaking objectively and I'm trying to look at it as God would look at it, in terms of what God would call good music. If your music is excellent to God first and foremost, for me, that is the best type of music. That's why I would actually argue that the best type of music is Christian rather than secular. But I know that to non-Christians, that argument won't make any sense. But I'm just telling you as a Christian, if you think that secular music is better, why? Like, why? Because at the end of the day, let's be real, the devil was amongst the angels, and of course his music will sound sweet to some people, but as Christians we should know better. Obviously he's the prince of lies and he'll try and convince you that his music is good, but the truth of the matter is, it isn't. And I really do believe this, guys, to be honest with you. I promise I'll be honest on Diskourse, innit? So it is what it is. A lot of your favourite secular artists, they're not as good as you think they are. They just chat rubbish. Honestly, a lot of them, they make songs and you don't even know what they're even speaking about. A lot of their beats are awful, but you just think they're good because everyone else does. That's just the truth. I'm just being real with you guys. A lot of songs that are extremely popular just aren't good. That's just the truth. Okay, I know I'm going a bit hard at the moment. I'm going to balance up the argument, okay? So I know some of you guys are probably saying, what about this, what about that? You know, I'll explore some of these arguments that you might be saying. So I know one of the number one reasons that people give is because they think that secular music has better production quality, better sound engineering, it just sounds better. And this is because there's more money in it. And I would argue that this might have been true with some genres of Christian music many years ago. So what I mean by this is very fair to say that if you go back to your original Christian hip hop, for example, I use hip hop as probably the best example. A lot of it, the production wasn't as good. You're getting artists that are quite new and producers that are quite new to making music. And as a result, you know, I won't deny, early hip hop, the production, the sound quality probably was not as good as secular hip hop in those days. However, I'll be real with you, yeah? Number one, I don't think that even really matters to most of us. A lot of people can listen to music that's horribly mixed, it doesn't sound quite right, but they'll still enjoy it. But the key point I actually want to make is nowadays, that argument is completely void, in my opinion. Before the internet became so accessible as it is today, it was very difficult for normal producers to get the best software, the best tools to be able to put out very sweet sounding songs. But the truth is, nowadays, it's actually a lot more accessible, and even your average teenager can just download music and get it sounding really nice, to be frank. In my opinion, you probably won't be able to tell how much money is put into a beat just from hearing it. And what this has meant is, even though I'll agree there's not as much money in Christian music as a whole, the production quality is basically the same regardless. So I think this argument is actually now null and void. In all honesty, a lot of music that's, you can sit, they'll say, oh, we spent 100k on this beat or whatever, and it just sounds rubbish, fam. Like, doesn't sound that great. I know there's people out there that say Christian music is corny, and I fully get this. In fact, I'll agree with it in a lot of situations as well. Some Christian artists are corny. Some Christian artists are just kind of like, yeah, I love Jesus now, so therefore like my music, right? But I'll be honest with you, it's not only you that knows this. A lot of Christians know this, and a lot of Christian artists know this, and they actively try not to be corny. As a result of this, they work extra hard to make their music such high quality that you can't call it corny. And in fact, in some cases, I'm looking at you, God Over Money crew, they will actually point at your favorite rappers and they'll point out how corny those guys are, because those guys aren't speaking truth. They aren't really speaking any sort of sense. They're speaking about life they don't really live. They're hiring houses and Lamborghinis and models to make it look like they've made life all great, but it's just rubbish, really, isn't it? So which is more corny, that sort of life, or just saying I love Jesus, I love Jesus? Like, for me, the answer is obvious, isn't it? And yes, I'll agree, there are some Christian artists out there that are just terrible, and they kind of just rely on the fact they're Christian artists. Oh, I'm doing it for Jesus, so everyone just love me regardless of the quality of my music. But don't get it twisted. Like I said, secular artists do exactly the same thing. Some people will say, oh, because I'm bringing the old school flavor back of hip hop, therefore you must love me, even though their rhymes are whack. Some people will just jump on the latest wave, whether it's drill or trap, and these guys have no talent, no sort of ability at all. You know what I mean? And I'm talking mostly from rap perspective, because that's what I'm very familiar with. But even with R&B or soul or whatever, some artists will just jump on it and they think, oh, because I'm swearing, you must think I'm cool. But your music is horrible. It's just terrible. You can't even sing. You can't sing outside the studio. You can't do live performances. You know what I mean? So you have to really kind of think about things in a wholesome way, because the world will get you thinking that only Christian artists can be lazy. One argument that I do think has merit, I'll be honest, is the fact that there's actually more secular artists, so there's likely to be more good secular artists. I think the proportion of good and bad artists will be exactly the same for Christian and secular, because humans are humans, but I will agree that there probably is more good secular artists than there are good Christian artists, and that's just because there's more of them. But yes, like I said previously, that will mean that there's less money in Christian music. However, that will mostly apply to promotion and the amount of pull that the music is able to generate. In other words, yes, two songs could be exactly the same quality, one Christian, one secular. The secular song will have more money in it, and therefore it will get on more radio stations, you'll hear it more, people will like it more. That's how the music industry works. It doesn't go by just what song is the best. It's very rare that good songs break through into the mainstream, in my opinion, to be honest. Especially nowadays, let's be real. But yeah, I know a lot of that was probably my opinion, but I hope you can understand that a lot of it is actually just fact, to be honest. A lot of it I think is just very simple to see if you just look at things openly and honestly. Sometimes when you're in a certain camp, it looks worse. The grass looks green on the other side, but honestly, it's not the case. And I do want to encourage Christians that listen to this video that Christian music is good. Like, don't let anyone tell you differently. The truth of the matter is, some of the most talented singers, rappers, producers, etc., they are Christian. That's an absolute fact. And honestly, the secular world does look up to the Christian music industry for inspiration. That's just the truth. However, being cool and being quality are different. You can be really good quality, but not necessarily be cool or popular. And the secular world will always look more cool to the world. That's just how things are. The secular music will always look more cool. It will always look more cool if you're writing songs about cheating on your man or killing a guy or making drugs. That will always appeal to people more than maybe rapping the Psalms or something, you know what I mean? Men are sinful. The Bible even says that the path of righteousness is a narrow path and the path of destruction is wide. So it's always going to be the case that Christian music is never ever going to be seen as cool or mainstream. But us Christians, we can do our best to enjoy Christian music and support it. But you're going to have to take your mind off the mainstream, you're going to have to think independently, and you're going to have to ignore popularity when it comes to deciphering songs. And this is a bit hypocritical for me, to be honest. As a DJ, I actually rely on the popularity of songs to be able to choose them and know what's popping. If everyone just thought independently, it'll be very hard to rock a party when everyone's doing their own thing. But I'll be real with you guys, and I'll tell you this because I hope that it will bless some of you guys in its own way. Don't be afraid to do your own research, follow Christian blogs, follow Christian outlets that will give you good Christian music. Some outlets will just give you all Christian music, some will give you good Christian music, and I'll probably do another video on that and how you can find good Christian music. As a DJ, I do my part. I obviously put out Christian mixes, but I'll be real, my number one love is hip-hop, and as a result, it's 99% Christian hip-hop that I listen to. And I know a lot of you don't necessarily like Christian hip-hop, so I don't put it out so much. So it's on you to go look for what you'll find interesting. But yeah, that's it for today, guys. Please do drop a comment below and let me know if you disagree with any of the points. I'm very, very happy to hear counter arguments to what I've said, and we can definitely talk about it in the comments below. I'll be there as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know, would you like to know more about how you can find good Christian music? Would you like me to speak more on the topic about any other issues? I'll be more than happy to speak on the issue further. As you know, I'm very passionate about Christian music in general. But yeah, until next time on Diskourse, thanks and stay blessed.
Let the beat ride, your I got so much to say.